So how you doing? This is Bob from Akana Odyssey, and today we're going to continue our discussion on how to contact spirits. All kinds of spirits, your spirit guides, spirits in general, and loved ones who have passed. So, first of all, what we're going to talk about a little bit is some of the reasons why we're not able to do that. See, in reality, all of us, everyone, can contact spirits. Everyone can. The reason for that is that ourselves are spirits. We are spirits. There is a soul inside this human body. That is the spirit, of course. Now, the soul enters the body a little bit after you are born, from what I understand. Some people say earlier, but from what I studied, it's a little bit after you're born. Not long, but just a little bit. And it already has a plan on what it's going to do before it gets here. But naturally, it erases that memory so it can now start a new journey and learn new things. Learned, about its way to enlightenment. But the soul has a lot of interference from the human, because humans are very much defective in many ways. So the soul is in a constant struggle with that human, but and it doesn't. It knows about the spirit world, but it doesn't remember it then, because its purpose is to find enlightenment, to get things better, make things better for itself continuously until it goes back to the big consciousness, to be one, they say. Now, so we have the ability to be able to speak to spirits. But one of the biggest problems that I find with my people that come to me, and that I have many, many clients, but that come to me, is the fact that they have that in the back of their mind, their subconscious, they have that religious fear. They have a fear that they're going to be punished for some reason. They'll be punished, and if they like somebody came pregnant, and oh, will my baby be have a problem? Will you be safe? Will God be mad? Stuff of this sort. Even though they're a natural medium or a natural empath, the answer to that is of course not. You see, we're taught that we have to believe in whatever God we believe in. If we do not believe in that God, then of course we are punished. In some religions, you go to hell, or whatever it might be. So we're taught to be anti-religion in every way except our religion ourselves. Some Christians are taught that the only way to get to heaven is to be a Christian. The only way you can possibly be is you have to follow Jesus. There's no other way. But all the other religions who are tremendously faithful in every single way, they're not going to go to heaven. See, all of this is basically something to keep us in line and keep us in the religious belief. So what happens is that sort of sucks into our mind. So we keep thinking we're going to be punished for something. So there's that resistance. Now you cannot contact spirits if there is resistance. You cannot. You have to have an acceptance, an understanding of them, and build a relationship with them. If you build it or try to build it through fear, of course, what's going to happen is bad things are going to come around you. When I say come around you, you're going to just bring these things around you. They're not coming because really the spirits have no intention to harm you. But our own mind creates it. And when our own mind creates it, what happens is that there's no communication. Or there is communication because you're so strong in the fact that you can contact spirits that they come to you and then you turn it into something terrible. It is us that do these things. So once we let go of that fear and we go in knowing that it's going to be okay, we go in, we tell, listen, I want to speak to you. I give you permission to speak to me. I adore you. I want to be with you. I'm not afraid of you. I want you to be there for me. I want to sit with you, talk to you. I want to hug you. Whatever it is, depending on what spirit you're looking to speak to. And I do suggest you pick one spirit. Well, sometimes you will say, like, sometimes, like today, for instance, for me, I was trying to talk to my mother, but at the same time, I was talking to Bad, which is my goddess. She's a Celtic goddess. So I was sort of constantly banging between the two of them back and forth in my mind, and it was helping me to have, push the stuff around me away because as humans, listen, we have a million things in our mind. And the more you study, the more you know about things, the more you're worldly in a sense, the more difficult it is. Because our minds are really going bam, bam. They're like, firing one after the other. So it's hard to be able to differentiate things and push it out of the way so you can actually contact the spirit. But you can do that when you sort of settle your mind down. Then it becomes very easy when you finally settle your mind down. And now, once you're able to do that, you're able to get a hold of that spirit. And once you get a hold of that spirit, then you will have a wonderful relationship. Now, I want to tell you, spirits also contact you in different ways. See, if you sit there and you're waiting for a spirit to answer you, and you get no answer, you become frustrated. You should not do that because that thing does make things worse for you. But in reality, a lot of times they contact you in different ways. Like for instance, you might have a problem, and you're trying to talk to the spirit about the problem, and you're really not getting feedback. But then you turn your TV on, there's some line right there on the program that is a complete answer to your question. Or somebody else will say something to you or bring it up, or you read it in front of you with a piece of paper. Maybe you look at a magazine, all of a sudden there's the answer. They have different ways to communicate with you, many ways. So you have to be able to be aware. You have to get your mind down so that you're thinking clearly and you're concentrating on this. In other words, you concentrate now in the morning, say you meditate in the morning, and you're asking the spirits to help you in some way or another. And then you decide, well, okay, now I finished meditating. I didn't get 100% results, but I'm going to take a walk in the park. Like I do it, I walk in the park. So you take a walk in the park and be mindful of the things around you. Things around you that are going to happen. Me, whenever I decide that I have a problem and I want an answer from the spirit, I'll ask. And a lot of times I get my answer right away, but other times I go and I walk. And I find feathers. If I find a feather, like I find crow feathers, hawk feathers, owl feathers, stuff of this sort, then I know that there's the answer. Like for instance, one park I go to, there's a tremendous amount of birds, but most of them are white. So I know when I got my message, when I received my message, I should say, it's not going to be a white feather because they're common. So I'll find a black feather, or I'll find a crow feather, I'd rather a hawk feather, or even owls. I have found owl feathers as well. Now, when I find a hawk or a black feather or a owl feather, I know I got my answer, no doubt about it. So you have to be mindful of your surroundings. For instance, I'll give you for instance for my brother. My brother died a little while back, not too long ago, and he was very intelligent, but he was not a believer. He did study. He studied Buddhism. He studied everything because he just had this thirst for knowledge. So he always studied. When he died, I already knew that there was a problem because of I did a reading, a tarot card reading for him of to speak to the dead. And when I did that, I got this creepy feeling like my skin just left my body. I was being skinned, not painful, just crawling, anxiety. So I knew right away George was in trouble. So what I did was when I did my prayer at night, my prayers because I pray every night, and I have my candles set up, and I sat and I lit a special candle for him, and I said, George, follow this light because I knew he didn't make it to the light. I said, try to follow this light. Hopefully, this light will bring you to the light. So then I went to bed. The very next morning, when I got up, my daughter called me, and she was, Dad, come here. And she has these French doors in her room. and there's a hood over and a fence around. And she finds this right there. You could not get out of that door without stepping on this giant feather. It was what I call in Florida, I call them gecko birds. What they are is a long, stupid bird that walks very slowly across the street trying to make you die. So I call them gecko birds because of what, the way they do it. I think they're herring, but at any rate, but they have these big feathers and they hardly fly. So how this feather got over the fence under her, this little awning that sticks out, and right at the front door, so you could not get past that door. It'd be impossible. So I knew. She goes, this is a message for you, obviously, and it was. It was George made it to the other side. Now, how do I know it was related to George? Number one, it was because of in my prayers, but also because then the next day, when I was meditating, I found myself walking with him and speaking to him. And I said, George, everything okay now? And he goes, no, everything is great, man. It's really good now. And we talked a little bit, and then he says, I got to go, and I had to go. So I had to go. There was a set of steps going this way, and then a road this way, and I went one way, and he went the other way, because, of course, I'm still in the living. So that is one way that I got my message from the Spirit with a feather. But I did get to speak to my brother as well. But so there are ways that you will get answers from them. Many ways. And I'll tell you one other quick story so you know that spirits are there for you to talk to loved ones. My wife, she died 11 years ago now, but when she died, she believed very much in Christianity. She was a Christian. She believed very much in that. So even though her and I had different religions, I respect everything that she believed in because you have to respect what each person believes in. So she died. A couple days later, or I don't know, maybe been sooner, I dreamt that I was walking in Brooklyn, where I come from, and I'm walking down the street, and there she is standing against a wall, and she has her hair still short and sort of gray because she had cancer, and her hair was growing back, and I said, hey, what's going on? Right? And she goes, well, I told you that everything was possible with God, and this was definitely a visitation. It was not a dream, because I know the difference between a visitation and a dream. And I did discuss it with other psychic friends of mine as well. But at any rate, so she found her peace. In spite of all the crap that went on throughout the years, she found her peace. And she was letting me know she did. That her God, that she believed in, because as long as you truly believe, it doesn't matter who you believe in, was there for her. So that was a way that particular spirit communicated with me. And I've had countless other encounters with spirits many, many times, which I can't go into all now. But I will give you one more. I was probably 20. No, that was no. I was 38 years old, and I was visiting my mother. And but then I went home anyway. I all of a sudden I was doing this meditation, and then I fell sort of asleep, and I seen my grandmother, my father's mother, and my grandfather. Now I never met his father because there was that's a long story. I just never met him physically. So I see them walking down the street, and I was on Skull Street, the street I lived in, sitting on the stoop, and they walk up to me, and my grandmother goes, "Bobby," and we're looking for Bobby, and I went, "Okay," and she goes, "No, no, not you though. We're looking for your father because my father's name is Bob. We're looking for your dad." So I said, okay. I said, how are you, Grandma? I loved her dearly. Grandma Kelly, I used to call her. She was magnificent. And of course, I didn't know him, but I knew what he looked like to see the picture. But she goes, no, everything's good, but we're here to find him. So that next day, it was a Sunday. That was a Saturday. It was a Sunday. I went to my mother's house, and I says, Mom, my grandmother, because she was from Sicily, my mother, so we called her mother Nana. But Grandma was my father's mother. And I says, Grandma came to me, and she said she was looking for for Bob, my father. And he was in the kitchen. He turned completely white as a ghost. Completely white. Now, there was no indication of anything. He just said, I said, they were looking for you. They want to maybe talk to you. Anyway, the next Saturday, he died. So those spirits came, those two spirits, and told me that they were looking for him where he was. What they were telling me, they were coming to get him and bring him to the other side. This is what they were actually telling me. So there was contact with the spirit again right there for me. But I've had lots of experience in spirits. So it is possible. The reason I'm telling you these particular stories, so you know that there is contact with the spirits. Now, I also want to tell you, be assured that spirits will not hurt you in any way. I understand people tell you all kinds of stuff, but I've been doing this for many years, for 50 years actually, a long time. I'm not young, dealing with spirits. And I never met a bad spirit ever. And I met many, many spirits. I am an ordained minister, but I'm also a person who works with the dark and the light. And the reason I work with the dark side and the light side is because you have to be whole. You cannot understand one without understanding the other and without loving each one. If you love each one, what you might consider dark spirits will love you just as much and just as hard as any spirit that you consider light. See, in my opinion, there's really no dark spirits. It's more like gray in a sense. All spirits are capable of many, many things. But I've never met a spirit, and I've met a lot of, because when I do see, all my meditations are done for spirit work, nothing else. In other words, I do it to contact spirits and to talk to the spirits, to my gods, my guides and stuff of this sort. That's the type of meditation I've been doing for many years. And I have tremendous success with it. I adore them in every way. They have never hurt me, and they will never hurt you. So if you're going to go on this path, remember, number one, free your mind. Be who you are. And number two is to proceed without fear. And then you got it made. Okay, so namaste, blessed be, and try to contact me, 321-274-7442. Please subscribe to this video and put likes if you can. Any comment would be great. Anything. I'm not thin skinned. You can say anything to me. I love everyone and thank you and blessed be.